And also on UFC 228, the whole Nicco Montano Valentina Shevchenko fight, and the whole thing that happened with the weight cut and the cancellation. I didn't get a chance to talk about that, so I want to talk about that really quick. So Nicco Montano apparently came to fight week 20 pounds overweight. So she came in fight week at 145. That is bad. Why didn't anyone tell the UFC? They would have found a replacement right there and then. 20 pounds overweight on fight week? Not even guys like Darren Till were that big over the weight class. Darren Till, I think, came into fight week 180s, somewhere in the 180s. She's coming 145. Now, you got to think, she's smaller, right? So cutting weight's going to be harder. And she's a woman. Cutting 20 pounds in a week, there was no way that was going to happen. Of course you're going to get sick and you're going to mess yourself up doing that. I don't have too much sympathy. I don't know what made her come into fight week at 20 pounds over. So I don't have too much sympathy. I don't like that she got sick, but she kind of did it to herself. Let's be honest. No one forced her. Unless something happened that I'm completely oblivious to, of course, I'll have some sympathy for her. But right now, what I know, I don't. I see guys like Luke Thomas. I usually agree with Luke Thomas. We usually are on the same ground in terms of ideas and opinions. But not this one. I heard him talking about how Nicco Montano was wrongfully bashed and, she got hospitalized and all that sort of stuff. But I think he fails to understand that she kind of did this to herself. No one did this to her. Yes, she had these injuries before and, it was a hard time for her. And those I understand. But this, and do it the craziest thing, why I don't have too much sympathy for that, is because she came off the Ultimate Fighter. That is the hardest way to cut weight. The UFC is not as hard to cut weight than the Ultimate Fighter. And she fought 125, the same weight class. She was making weight week after week, right? She didn't have all this time to cut weight like she does now. And she was making weight every time. So I don't know what happened. But here's the thing, why didn't anybody tell the UFC? So they could have found a replacement for Shevchenko. Caitlin Chukagian was saying that she would have fought, but you can't weigh in 3 hours notice. That's silly to do unless you were cutting the whole time. It was not the smartest thing from her camp, and she got hospitalized. Of course she would have got hospitalized. Let's be honest. She was going to get messed up because of this. And I saw some of her interviews afterward, and she claimed that Valentina is scared of her. I don't think Montano was scared of Shevchenko. Now, I can't say that for certain. I don't think she is because she is a fighter. She's fought amazing fighters. She fought veterans already. I know Shevchenko's on another level, but she's fought. She's a fighter at heart. So I don't think she's scared of Shevchenko. But to say Shevchenko's scared of you? What gives you that idea? Like, what honestly gives you that idea? She showed up for the weigh-in. She weighed in. She was on weight. She was calling you out continuously before this fight got announced. And she kept saying in interviews that she thought you were going to pull out. So she was scared because she kept thinking that you were going to pull out, that she was hoping you were going to pull out. But guess what? You pulled out. So she was right. She said that she saw in Montano's demeanor and she didn't want this fight like 3 times or something like that. All these signs pointed to Shevchenko finalizing in her head that Nicco Montano is going to pull out. It's just a matter of time. And she was right. If she's right, then she's right. She said you're going to pull out and you pulled out. How was she scared? She just said what happened. She predicted the future. She is Mystic Val. I might just got my new thumbnail for my prediction video. So that is very silly. That is very silly. I'm on Shevchenko's side on this. And to be honest now, Nicco Montano missed her shot. Of course she's going to get stripped. Of course she's going to get stripped. She's not a dominant champion. She never had a title defense. She came in fight camp overweight by 20 pounds. That is very irresponsible, especially as a champion, let alone as a fighter, let alone as a professional fighter, let alone as an amateur fighter. Imagine as a champion, what kind of image that shows. You can't do that. There is more responsibility, or there's more on you to make weight than winning a fight. That's pretty much how this whole culture is now, right? If you miss weight, it's way worse than you losing a fight in terms of like the fans' eyes and the promotion and all this stuff. If you lose a fight, stuff happens. If you miss weight, that's on you. You messed up bad. Not a dominant champion, never defended a belt, came straight off the Ultimate Fighter, didn't beat a UFC elite fighter to win the belt. Now, she did fight UFC fighters in the Ultimate Fighter, like Lauren Murphy, for example. So, of course, she's going to get stripped. It's only good for everybody in the organization and the division. You can't hold up the division this long. One of the biggest things why they would strip her is because she already got injured. They were supposed to fight, right? So they did her a favor before. They could have stripped her back then. But they gave Montano a chance. She got injured. She had the surgery, all that sort of stuff. So they held off the fight. And now it happens again. She pulls out again. Nah, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. We're moving on here. Shevchenko is the number one contender, and to be honest, she is the best fighter in this division, and we got to get this moving. We just made this division, and it's not a bad division. It's almost as good as 135, so we got to get this rolling. We got to get Shevchenko fighting for the belt now. And this, in hindsight, may have been one of the best moves for the UFC because they could potentially do Joanna versus Valentina Shevchenko now. Forget Nicco Montano versus Shevchenko. We're going to put Nicco Montano against Sijara Eubanks, the fight that was supposed to happen at the Ultimate Fighter finale. So we'll do that for the number one contender fight. And then we'll bring up Joanna and have this big fight with her and Shevchenko where they had previous fights in Muay Thai. 3 fights in Muay Thai. Shevchenko won all of them. And they have history. Joanna's a way bigger name than Montano is. And to be honest, the fans want this fight. How long have the fans been wanting Joanna versus Shevchenko? And Joanna, she's too big for 115. She has to move up to 125. She's gotten a lot bigger. It's obvious. And even in their walk-around weight, Shevchenko says she's around 138, 135, 138. And Joanna is about 135 as well. They both are weighing about the same. So the size is not going to be a big factor in this one. Joanna is also taller than Shevchenko. This is the fight to make. And business-wise, this is probably the best thing to happen for the UFC in that division.